Gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, the IRS Radio Hour every Sunday at 5 o'clock. This is our live feed, so watch, enjoy. Hopefully you get a lot of information out of the segment. This is the Mr. Know-It-All segment. Attorney Stephen Leahy is going to give us his infinite wisdom on all things IRS.
And I'll tell you what the question is in just a minute during the show. So we're going to
start. If you have a question, write on the video and we will answer it next week.
And remember now, on this too, like and comment.
Share, subscribe.
Yes, that's good. Yes. All of those things. Like, share, subscribe.
And if you, it doesn't matter what your comment is, good, bad, if you think we're not doing right, indifferent, just please leave a comment. It makes everything that we're going to be doing, presenting information to you, it's going to be better. It's going to be more user-friendly.
Sometimes I'm surprised at how nice people are on comments, but then how mean they can be.
Well, leave a very mean comment for me, please.
We can be mean. I'm okay with that.
And if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in Northeastern I might as well. I'm already doing it.
Yeah,
Northeastern Illinois. Give me a call, Jim Leahy at Properties in Bannockburn, 847-271-3695. That phone number one more time, 847-271-3695. Love to sit and talk with you and see if we can make a deal.
Deborah has set the clock, so let's go.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with Attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, Attorney Stephen Leahy.
I am the tax man. Just like the music says.
I hear you.
I'm the tax man.
I see you.
And I am also Mr. Know-It-All. Aren't I?
And now, here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
Mr. Know-It-All, the segment where Attorney Stephen Leahy gives us his infinite wisdom on all things IRS-related tax issues. Right. I'm sorry, I'm just caught off guard. Ladies and gentlemen, for all you avid IRS Radio Hour listeners, I think we just found an introduction to that segment. This show's been going 4 years, and it has been a very rough introduction. That was perfect. Deborah, you are the best in the business.
She is the best.
Hey, what happened?
An accident happened. We did something right.
That's right.
Okay, so here's the question, and this I've been getting this all week, right? Do I need to hire someone to do my tax return?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question because I know you're going to answer this, but I have a friend of mine who's, he does his own tax. He goes, I'm not going to pay anybody to do that. Who cares?
The answer
I'm going to
is,
do it.
Most people don't have to hire somebody. And now, if you make less than $66,000 a year, you could get it for free. There's free software for online.
Really?
Yes.
But you have to punch in all the numbers.
Well, it doesn't do it for you. It doesn't.
That's what people...
we talk about this.
Yes,
yes. Because sometimes people think that you buy software and all you do is buy the software and it does it for you. It doesn't.
It's TurboTax. It does it for me.
It does it for me. But you still have to put in all the numbers. Now, a lot of people, for instance, if I'm a W-2 employee and I've only been in one job for last year, well, they're going to send me a W-2. I'm going to have all the numbers. There's going to be 4 or 5 boxes, 3 or 4 boxes, and I'm going to take them off the box. I'm going to put it in the form, and boom, I'm finished. And I could do it for free. I don't even have to buy TurboTax anymore. I don't have to buy the H&R Block or Tax Act.
Now you're about to go into something because we're doing a segue into the 1099 because you were just talking about W-2. This is going to pertain to me because I just joined with that Properties in Bannockburn, and I'm a 1099 employee. So please, Attorney Stephen.
So 1099s are this. It's really the same with the W-2 as with a 1099. They're going to send you a 1099, and if you only go to one employer, and the 1099 will tell you what you grossed, but there won't be any tax withheld. So you're just saying, well, here's what I grossed, and then it'll do the math for you and tell you this is what you owe because you're going to owe money. Because you haven't paid anything. And if you're a 1099 employee, you're probably going to owe a little bit more than if you weren't because you're going to have to pay, you're going to have to pay a self-employment tax. And the reason why... A self-employment tax, which is a tax on top of the income tax. And why do you pay that self-employment tax? The self-employment tax makes up for that amount that your employer would put into Medicare or Social Security for you. So when I am getting paid as a W-2 employee, they take out some money from my check for Social Security and for Medicare, and my employer matches that money for Medicare and Social Security, and so that portion, when I'm working for myself on a 1099, that portion that the employer would have paid in, I have to pay, and I also have to pay my own share because they're not taking it out. And in order to pay into Social Security, you got to pay into Social Security, and that's what that is. So it's an extra tax. You pay more. You're not really paying more because people who are W-2 employees pay more too.
Remember, we had Precision Payroll on.
Yes, and very good. And my advice to people is to call Tom Sadeka at Precision Payroll if you're a 1099 employee, and think about starting an S corporation and becoming an employee of your own corporation. It may save you time and money in taxes, but also headache, because the headache is you're going to file in April. You're not going to have the money because you haven't put it away. Now, let's say I owed $12,000 in taxes last year. Technically, what I'm supposed to do, and when I do my tax return, they're going to give me vouchers, and I'm supposed to send in every 3 months. I'm supposed to send in a quarter's worth of taxes. So if I owed $12,000 last year, every 3 months, I'm supposed to send the IRS $3,000.
It just seems like a nightmare.
Well, it is a nightmare, but everybody's got to pay their taxes, and if your employer's not taking them out and sending them in, then you have to take them out and send them in, and that's just the way it works. So again, you're supposed, if you owe the IRS money at the end of the year, the next year you're supposed to pay quarterly. A quarter of everything you owed, you're supposed to send it in every quarter. So March.
Oh, from the previous year.
June, yes. Because how else do you know what you're going to make? They're just estimating what you're going to owe from what you made last year. Now, it might be different.
That is ridiculous.
Well, it's the way it works, and so it might be different than what you made last year, and so maybe you overpaid. Well, then you get a refund like most people. Most people get a refund because they overpay.
What if I don't have the money? What if I'm having a really bad year? Like for me, I'm selling real estate. What if I have a really good year? Let's just say, hypothetically, I have an awesome year.
Then you owe money. Yeah,
but I don't have money to pay him.
Well, again, when you get paid, what you should do is put money aside and send it to the IRS.
What if I'm not making money?
You just said you just had an awesome year.
2018, I make a lot of money.
Okay.
2019 comes around. I'm not making any money, but they still have to pay quarterly.
Yes. And this is what
I don't have money, though.
I understand.
That's ridiculous. That's insane. We need to change something.
Well, how are you going to change it? Well, you know what happens if you don't pay it, and then you just pay what you can, but you're supposed to pay it. But if you don't have the money, you can't pay it. So as long as at the end of the year, you don't know. Anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All. I do apologize for the tangent, but this is starting. I'm new at this. I don't know what I'm doing.
You know what I love about it, Jim, is for all these years it had zero impact on you. So you were like, woo. Now it matters to you.
Like, whoa,
now it matters to you. Like, what?
That's why I'm going to be calling Open Tax. I hope I never have to call Open Tax Resolution. 312-664-6649 or visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. That's going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Watch previous videos. Get in touch with Attorney Stephen Leahy. It's a great overall tool to help get you back on track for financial success. Now, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because after the commercial break, we're going to wrap the show up IRS Radio Hour style, the only way we know how to, which is headed out of the park on AM 560, The Answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Mr. Know-It-All segment with Attorney Stephen Leahy. As you can see, that was really informative.
For you, as I said.
You watch previous videos, I'm not really paying attention. It's really weird, isn't it? Like the past 5 months, I'm kind of just
you're like
all
you're like a. I feel like
flower.
I feel like a father bird watching you fly for the first time. Because all this time you didn't really care, and now all of a sudden, you mean it matters to me?
I was waiting tables, making tips,
reporting
them. What do I care? Here you go. 1099, it's not about me. And then all of a sudden I'm 1099 going, oh my God.
I should have been listening all this time.
See, this is what's important, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you might not have an issue come up already. You might not have an issue right now. It's not going to say that it's not going to be there in the future. The IRS is a very complicated entity. And that's why
and I always tell people you might not have problems, but a friend of yours will, and they need somebody to call because it's very difficult to find the right people.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Even if he can't help you with that particular situation, which I doubt it, but even if he can't, He knows people that are very well qualified, top notch in the Chicagoland area that will help you.
Actually, I had 2 calls this last week. One guy owed the state of Illinois. He listened to the show. He listens to the show.
Really?
And he owed the state of Illinois. It was only $1,000, but it really irked him, and so he wanted to call me and ask me about it. And unfortunately, I had to tell him, no, you have to pay the $1,000. You know. And then I had someone else owe $12,000, right? And I had to tell him, you don't want to hire me because. And I don't know why all these advertisers we talked about in the first, in the second segment, all these advertisers would talk. Oh, if you owe more than $10,000, call us. The only time that it's really going to make sense for you to hire someone, in my opinion, if you owe more $10,000, is if you can't pay him anything. But then you can't really pay anybody to help you either. Then you should all you should do is call the IRS and show them, hey, I don't have any money. And if you could prove to them that you don't have any money, and if you don't have any money, well, that's pretty easy to prove, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, if I'm on a fixed income, I have only Social Security, and this is where I usually come up with this. So I only have Social Security, and I can't pay because that's the only money I have, and it's not even enough to pay my rent and my food. I can't even keep the lights on. And keep my lights on. That's easy because the IRS has all these standards that they use, and so they would look at your income and they'd look at the standards and say, "Yeah, this guy can't afford to pay us," and then they'll put you in this currently not collectible status. So it might take you an hour or 2 hours on the phone with the IRS because it does take that long. They don't answer the phone very well, and you just have to be patient and get on the phone and do it. But don't call if you owe someone $10,000. Don't call someone to help you. You can do that yourself. Because again, by the time you paid me, even if it was $3,000, that's a third of what you owe the IRS already.
Yeah, it's not. It's
what are they going? I guess they could do it for $1,000.
That's why it's so important to do a payroll tax system. Well, look. Any money I make, and I've been starting to make some money with. I go to Attorney Stephen Leahy and go, how much do I put away? Because I don't know how to do. I don't.
I agree.
I'm just the average American. I don't know what.
Now I have a young.
I'm not saying that you guys are you're an apt in learning. It's just a very complicated system.
I got a young man that just hired me the other day, and he hasn't filed in 7 or 8 years, and now he says, now I'm making money, and I wasn't making money before, so I never really worried about it. But now I'm starting to make some money, and I asked him, well, how does that make you feel? He said, it makes me feel like a kid.
Yeah.
Because I don't really understand this stuff.
That's what I'm
and I'm trying. He said my parents used to take care of it, and when they stopped taking care of it, I'm ashamed to tell them I don't know what I'm doing, and so he didn't do anything.
Well, that's an issue, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And so this, but this happens, and we can get him on the right track, we
might as well keep the show going since we're going to wrap this show up.
Well, we're going to wrap the show up.
I love it. Eventually. So we'll just continue with the live feed. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying. This has actually been a really eye-opening experience for me. Again.
You've been through this before, though.
I know. You know what? I do know all about the pay quarterly, and I do know that, you have to pay. It's just, it never rang true.
I'm a business owner, so I have to pay quarterly. You have to pay as you're going in. Now, what if I don't? And as you pointed out in that last, you asked the question, well, what if I don't have enough? Well, if you can't pay them if you don't have enough. But then at the end of the year, you're going to file your tax return. You're going to figure out what you owe them, and then pay them what you owe them.
Okay.
So you won't.
But there's a penalty charge on there, isn't there?
No, probably not. It's not if you pay in April when you're supposed to. Okay, so if you pay after that, then there'll be a penalty. Now, technically, they can penalize you if you don't pay quarterly, but they usually won't if you pay in April and it was less.
Isn't that nuts?
It is nuts. Yeah.
Isn't that nuts? Because you're sitting there and go, okay, I know now, Attorney Stephen Leahy. I wrote down that I'm gonna do it, and then a week later, you're like, what did he say?
I understand. That's why you call me 312-664-6649. So.
I hope I never have to call 312-664-6649.
You should never call 312-664-6649.
I'm going to call him right now, 312-664-6649.
Well, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I got to get a pen, Mandy. So
312-664-6649.
That's the number. I get it.
We finished it on a 5 spot. We should do even numbers with that,
Yeah,
going back and forth. Finish on a 5.
Now, in the final segment, we always talk about sports.
I'm going to push myself a little bit. I'm just going to put my number out there.
You do that. That's fine.
847-271-3695 is my phone number. I work with Ad Properties in Bannockburn, Illinois. Ad Properties is based in Chicago, one of the largest luxury we have the largest luxury inventory of of homes,
Yes.
luxury homes in the Chicagoland area. Some of the top salesmen are coming out of at properties, and this is I believe a 10-year. I might be wrong on that, maybe 8 to 10-year-old company, but we're growing, I am with that properties. I'd love to sit down, talk with you, and see. Let's get your house sold, or let's buy a home. Give me a call, 312-
Now,
847-271.
He's going to give you my number.
3695.
You can call me too.
Yeah,
I'll
call
get
him.
I'll get you in touch with Jim.
You can call me. I'll get you in touch with him.
So I work a lot with David Hochberg, and David works with a lot of realtors. And one thing that he will do is he'll set you, if you're having problems with your credit, he will set you up with Gary Novell, who's been on our show, and he will help you. And whatever his bill is, I think it's $350 for a person or $400 for a couple. Don't
quote on that.
Yeah, don't quote me on that. But and Gary Novell will fix your credit for you. And if you use Gary to fix your credit and then use David in order to get a mortgage, he will reimburse you that $400.
That's awesome, because I just put on my Facebook an article from the Chicago Tribune talking about millennials, how millennials they don't think they can own a home because they have all this debt, and the answer cannot be further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there are people out there that will fix your credit. There will people you can do it yourself. Even make sure you just pay off your credit card debt, your high interest credit card debt, and boom.
I just had somebody call me, and I put him in contact. I actually came from David. Heard me on David's show. He called me. I put him in touch with Gary, and Gary is fixing his credit, so his score goes up, so he can buy a home. And then he'll contact. I'm fixing his tax problem. Gary will fix his credit problem, and then David will help him get a loan in order for him to buy the house that he's living in. The house he's living in is his son's house, but he wants to buy it from his son.
Yeah.
But he has to have good credit to do so. So that's what he's trying to do. So it's always it's a team of good people that are working to help you.
Exactly.
Because I can't do everything, but I know good people who can help you do all this stuff.
That's what we're saying. It's about connections. It's about going out there.
And you got to have the right realtor. You have the right.
Exactly.
You have the right mortgage broker. You have the right. Now another thing that David does in his program that he'll pay for at closing is to do a sewer inspection when you're going to buy a home.
Yes.
And because he's got Permaseal is on the show on Home Sweet Home Chicago, and Permaseal will go out and send the camera down your sewer and to see if it's okay, because this might cost you $20,000 or $30,000 after you buy your home.
Yeah.
How else would you know if there's any?
How many times does that happen? Where it's quite amazing when somebody buys a home and they go, "Oh, I didn't see that."
Yes.
Look, my job as a realtor is to go through any latent defects. I'm
Yes.
supposed to tell you. If I could see it, there's a problem. I'm going to.
And they have an inspection.
Now,
the inspection is
in an inspection,
but the inspectors generally don't put that camera down the
won't.
sewer.
No,
and so
won't.
he's got this. Another thing that people don't do, and what you should probably think about doing, is looking at the trees, having someone come out and look at the trees on the property.
Exactly. That's so important. And also, too, what's important is, as you said, finding the right realtor. Now, I'm brand new. I just started, as you folks know, ladies and gentlemen, as I just said. But that's what makes me so valuable. When you sign with me, first off, I don't have any bad habits, because I don't have any habits at all. But when you sign with me, you're not only getting me, you're getting my managing broker, you're getting top echelon people working with me. You're getting a 2-for-1 combo. So you're not just signing Jim Leahy, the no-name guy. You're signing the top seller in that market.
And also these other people we're talking about, and these people that have been in the business for a long time. Because it's a team of people. And what you lack in experience, Jim, you make up for in enthusiasm. And that goes a long way. Because you get people who have been in the business for a long time who don't seem to care anymore.
You are the one who turned me around, Attorney Stephen Leahy. You're the one who righted the ship for me, because I saw how successful your business has been and how you're able to help people and make an impact. I said, I'm kind of done, as you watch the previous videos, I'm kind of done showing up and looking like a punk. I don't want to work in a restaurant anymore. I want to help people. I want to make an impact on people's lives. And what's the most important way to make an impact on somebody's life? Is when they buy or sell a home, right?
That's the biggest purchase they'll make in their lifetime.
And that's my guarantee to you. We're going to make this an easy process.
That's right. Where they're gonna raise their family, where they're gonna live for the next 10 or 15 years or more.
Exactly.
It's important.
Exactly.
Where the kids are going to go to school, all this is important.
I could have worked down in the city. I could have worked in other areas, but I chose Bannockburn. Why? Because I grew up in Bannockburn. I grew up in the Deerfield, Bannockburn, Lake Forest, Highland Park area. I was very lucky. I understand. But I've lived around there. I know what's the best around. If you want somebody to give you a tour of a home, if you're looking to buy a home, you come to me. I will tell you exactly how. Chances are I've been in that house at one point playing around.
True.
It's true. I mean,
I know.
For God's sakes, I love that town.
But it's not even like that town. It's all up there, Libertyville, Mundelein.
Well, I live there too.
Yeah, Mundelein, all up in the north. It's all about the area and where where you should be because where the schools are. That's really
exactly.
That's what a lot of people determine where they're going to live is, and that's like myself. Why do we pick where we are? Because of Bannockburn School.
Well, let's have this conversation.
I'm going to tell you something about Bannockburn School. They have a heck of a board.
That school board, that kid Jake Leahy's phenomenal. Let me tell you something, Marco Sukovic. We should just get going with the show.
I just talked to him. I just
talked to him too.
I just talked to somebody else though that was lives in the neighborhood at church this morning because it's Friday. During Lent, I always go to church on Friday morning, and there was a guy at church, and we were talking politics. He says, did you see that lying mailer? I think I told you about it, right? That they lied about him.
About the
that
kid.
He's connected to Mike Madigan, and nothing could be further from the truth. And the guy said to me, when I got this, I was so angry, I wrote Marco a check for $500 and sent it to Marco. I hope he sticks it to her, he said. So
what a jerk.
Yeah.
What an absolute.
I agree. Who thinks it's stuff like that? How do a group of men sit around, I'm assuming men, maybe they're women.
A group of people sit
around and say, how can we lie about this guy to make him lose?
It's a kid, for God's sakes. Is he going to win? I hope so, but I mean, hey, come on, he's a kid.
He's
at least give
22
him,
years old.
You would think that the party would love to prop somebody up like that for the future.
I would agree with that.
That's the problem with Illinois, right there.
I agree with that.
The problem with politics.
You think they'd be trying to help the kid, but they don't want to help him.
Let's do it with the.
They'd rather, as I always tell my kids, I don't know if you saw this, but Jake wrote an article in the.
I did see that.
Oh, that you did.
Going after, and I said, "Go get him, Jake. Going after Madigan."
I saw that. So he's, and so. But I always tell Jake is nobody's so small in Illinois that these politicians don't want to crush you. Okay, so you have to be careful. No, we're good. Let's go.
What?
I can't hear you.
I was going to get a clip.
Aha.
And so I need to turn off your mics.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, we're going radio silent for a while, but we will be back.
well, they'll hear a clip, but
that's right.
Okay.
But you get the behind the scenes look.
Yeah, we're good with that. We're good with that.
I don't stop my car before I get to the crest of the hill and get out and walk over and see if somebody's coming up the other side on the wrong side. I have faith to believe that the drivers are going to stay on their side. Faith, 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 everything. When you sat in that chair, had you ever sat in that chair before? I bet you didn't pick it up and examine it and put your hands on it to see if it would hold you. By faith, you just sat down in it. You had faith that people wouldn't build a chair that wouldn't hold you. Everything we do is by faith. All right, take the same faith, put it in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you will know who Jesus is. You accept him by faith, and he comes into your life and into your heart, and you know that he's who he claims to be.
He was an amazing man. That's Billy Graham. Amazing man.
Who?
Reverend Billy Graham.
Who is he?
He just passed. You really don't know who he is? Really? He's 99. He just died. He was 99 years old. He was the preacher to presidents, as they call him. And he was, man, he had a television show in the early early 60s, I think 50s and 60s. Very popular. They say he spread the gospel to more people than anybody else in history.
Who?
Except for,
This guy?
Yeah, the Reverend Billy Graham.
I don't know. I don't watch that stuff.
You don't have to watch it. He wasn't like these guys that are out there now.
I can't stand him.
He's not that guy. He's not the guy that you can't stand, because he was not like that. And I'm not. I'm a Catholic. He wasn't, but the guy made a lot of sense. He was just again. There's nobody ever said a ill word against him, as far as I know. And now I wish I would have said that on the air. No, I did, but I mean on the radio, because the guy is. How long is that, Debbie? So we have enough time to do it.
24 seconds.
Oh, that was really.
Yeah.
That seemed like a lot longer than that.
I edited it.
Okay.
It's just going to be shorter.
He's got. I'm surprised you never heard of him, Jim. His son is still out.
Franklin Graham.
Yeah, Franklin Graham, and he's still around. He's out preaching the gospel. The Reverend Jerry Falwell.
He was preaching in Chicago in that clip, by the way.
Is that right? He was preaching up until almost the day he died.
Yeah, I never heard of him.
Oh, you see pictures of him in the 50s. I bet you. Did you look him up?
No.
You'll recognize him if you saw. Recognize he's.
Why are we putting Billy Graham on?
Because he just passed.
To honor him.
Yes.
He's lying at the Capitol, I think, for 2 days.
Is that right?
2 days.
Is that right?
Which is a very high honor for a
yes,
civilian.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
Okay.
He's not a televangelist like you think of. He wasn't like that. Go ahead. Let's do the show.
You're listening to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy on AM 560, The Answer. Attorney Stephen Leahy brings his passion and expertise to your radio each and every week during the IRS Radio Hour. Tune in, take notes, and be educated. Learn your options resolving financial obstacles that face so many. And now, back to the IRS Radio Hour with your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Attorney Stephen Leahy, or your host, should I say.
It's true.
This is true. But this is the IRS Radio Hour, and this is AM 560, with attorney Stephen Leahy and Deborah Schreiner.
Very good. Now this in this segment, I like to clean up all the things that we should have done earlier and we didn't. And one of those is recognizing that the Reverend Billy Graham has passed. He was 99 years old. The guy was outstanding. What a preacher! And I was surprised to learn that Jim hadn't heard of him.
Never heard
again,
of him.
I think you've heard of him. You just don't know it that you've heard of him because he's been in the news and on. In public eye for such, he had a star on the Walk of in Hollywood. Did you know that he had a star in Hollywood?
I didn't.
I've never heard of him.
But here
we have a clip of
we
him?
have a little clip. Let's play the clip.
Everything we do is by faith. All right, take the same faith, put it in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you will know who Jesus is. You accept him by faith. And he comes into your life and into your heart, and you know that he's who he claims to be.
And Billy Graham was who he claimed to be. They say that he preached, he spread the gospel to more people than anybody else before, because he in the 50s and 60s he was on television. He went around the world preaching the gospel.
Well,
he was the
technology.
He was it was then, and people watched because I forget the name of the program, because of course that was before my time, but he was on television and everybody watched him. He was the pastor to presidents. There's pictures of him with Eisenhower and Johnson and going right up the line, Kennedy, all of them, every one of them. And they all cherished his advice, and he lent an ear to all of them, and advice to all of them. So he wasn't partisan. He was.
I heard a pastor that I really like speak about Billy Graham, and he said whenever he was with someone, obviously you think people would want to ask him a lot of questions, but he always liked to get to know the person he was with.
I heard, since he's passed, obviously we're hearing a lot of stories about him, and how many people come say, my whole family, I think Kathy Lee Gifford, and my whole family came to Christ because of him, because people were watching him on television, and so he wasn't this television. That was before the televangelists really took over and became shysters, because he was anything but a shyster. I'll give him that. And again, I'm not of that denomination, whatever that denomination is, because I'm Catholic, which is its own denomination. But anyway, I have to give him a lot of credit for what he's done, and you can't. Nobody questioned his faith. And I always say, when we drive down the road, we only have faith that the guy coming the other way stays in his own lane, right?
Like we were driving here and we almost hit that couch.
Oh, there was a big couch in the middle.
I swear to God, we're driving down. Hit the thing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take up this whole segment with him, but that's at least.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for tuning into the IRS Radio Hour. Remember, every Sunday at 5. We're also going to be doing every Friday YouTube Live, Facebook Live. So we hope you enjoy, because there's avenues of getting the information out. There's avenues of getting information. So tune in to them. Like one of them would be calling you, 312-664-6649, or visit Chicago. That's going to be your hub. It's been a pleasure. Remember, same bat time, same bat channel every Sunday at 5. And go to YouTube, go to Facebook.
Okay.
We have to give Jim some extra time next week.
Yes, because we kind of took it away.
Railroaded his segment.
That's okay. Billy Graham is a very important guy, and we should give him the time.
Oh, I didn't mind. This is all inclusive. We got to make sure that everything is.
So we're going to wrap up the show on this. But this.
Will you give us closing remarks, please?
Closing arguments?
No. Just please tell everybody about the office of Stephen A. Leahy.
Well, no, because you just did that. No, I'm okay with that. But I want you to know that we had a little bit of technical problems today, but I'm working them on.
We're going to get them eventually.
I think what it was is that I tried to do it in segments, and the first segment was processing on YouTube, and it wouldn't let me do another one. And so that's what the problem was. And so I've learned, well, then don't do that.
Yes.
So
we'll probably do the first segment or the blog segment, then split it up.
Because I'm trying to get now. The second segment we did was the blog segment. And I'll probably have to get that.
We'll get it sent up, and so you guys get the information. It's a great segment.
It was a good segment.
What we talk about again?
Pay pennies on the dollar.
Paying pennies on the dollar. Because a lot of people think you can pay pennies on the
dollar.
dollar.
Can I pay the IRS? Really? And that's what the title is. It's going to be.
Now, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, like, share, and subscribe.
That's right.
Also, go to YouTube or go to Facebook, which is going to be Stephen Leahy or Open Tax Resolution, because you're going to be able to.
Isn't it Stephen A. Leahy?
No, that's on YouTube.
Oh.
The other one is
also too. Just go on Facebook, watch the pre-videos that we do. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Keep looking, Jim.
I'm looking. I'm looking right in the camera. He's an attorney, not a cameraman.
Obviously.
That is clairvoyant. I don't think I use that word properly. I don't really care. You got to figure out how to turn it off.
I can't see.